It's been 45 years since the Blues Brothers, 1980, burst onto the big screen with its unforgettable blend of soul, slapstick, and car crashes. What started as a Saturday Night Live sketch became a cultural phenomenon, thanks to the film's larger-than-life performances, iconic music, and the magnetic energy of its cast. But in 2025, where are the stars who brought Jake and Elwood's wild mission from God to life? Some went on to build legendary careers, while others faced heartbreaking downfalls, personal demons, or disappeared from the public eye altogether. In this special look back, we uncover what really happened to the cast over the past 4 decades. John Belushi was born on January 24, 1949, and played Jake Blues in 1980 at age 31. Jake was wild, explosive, but magnetic, a blues-loving ex-con on a holy mission. Belushi embodied that chaos off-screen too, living like a ticking time bomb. Behind his comedic brilliance was a man spiraling, snorting cocaine with celebrities at night, getting kicked off SNL, and punching producers when high. He crashed sets, vanished on binges, and burned bridges with nearly everyone. Yet everyone forgave him, until his luck ran out. His marriage to Judith was marred by jealousy, groupies, and midnight phone fights. Despite fame, he was tormented by insecurity, terrified he was a fraud. After the box office success of the Blues Brothers, he plummeted deeper into addiction, surrounding himself with enablers. He would lock himself in Chateau Marmont for days, alternating between genius-level improvisation and paranoia. Belushi died on March 5, 1982, age 33, of a heroin-cocaine speedball overdose. He was found alone, his room strewn with syringes, an icon fallen to the darkness he masked with laughter. Cab Calloway was born on December 25, 1907, and played Curtis in 1980 at age 73. Curtis was the gentle, wise janitor with a jazzman's soul, a mentor cloaked in a custodian's uniform. In real life, Calloway was a showman who reigned over the Cotton Club with zoot suits and hypnotic scats. But the smile hit a tyrant. He ran his band like a military unit, slapping musicians who showed up late, fining them for missed notes. He once punched Dizzy Gillespie during a performance, triggering Gillespie to stab him with a knife. Though he mellowed with age, he never forgot slights, and industry insiders called him vindictive. His family life was fractured. He was estranged from one daughter for years after a bitter inheritance dispute. Calloway's twilight years were more dignified, but he clung tightly to control of his image, even rewriting stories and interviews to clean up his reputation. He died on November 18, 1994, aged 86, from a stroke, an icon whose rhythms masked a life of rigid discipline and buried feuds. Kathleen Freeman was born on February 17, 1923, and portrayed Sister Mary Stigmata in 1980 at age 57. Her character was a disciplinarian terror, cold eyes, swinging ruler, zero tolerance, but with a maternal undertone that hinted at buried affection. Off-camera, Freeman was a perfectionist who demanded respect in a male-dominated industry. She refused to play the Hollywood game, often criticizing directors she found incompetent, which earned her a reputation for being difficult. Her private life was guarded with fortress-like precision. For decades, rumors swirled about her sexuality, never confirmed, but she was inseparable from Helen Ramsey, her companion, who later became her legal beneficiary. Freeman resented being typecast as the angry woman, and her bitterness occasionally spilled into her performances. Despite a prolific career, she never led a film or won a major award, a fact that quietly haunted her. Freeman died on August 23, 2001, age 78, from lung cancer, leaving behind a legacy of fiery talent wrapped in personal mystery. James Brown was born on May 3, 1933, and portrayed Reverend Cleophas James in 1980 at age 47. His character, a fiery preacher exploding with gospel energy, was James Brown distilled, sweat, soul, and divine rhythm. But behind the godfather of soul was a deeply troubled man. Brown beat his wives, fired guns into the ceiling during arguments, and once led police on a drug-fueled cross-state car chase that ended in a prison stint. He was obsessed with control over his band, his image, his women. Bandmates recalled fines for playing a wrong note and fear of retribution. His drug use, especially PCP and cocaine, left him paranoid and erratic in his later years. He locked himself in hotel rooms for days, emerging disheveled, screaming about conspiracies. Despite being a civil rights supporter, his personal conduct often betrayed his public persona. He died on December 25, 2006, age 73, from congestive heart failure, his last years clouded by lawsuits and claims from multiple illegitimate children. He died as chaotically as he lived, a genius entangled in his demons. John Candy was born on October 31, 1950, played Burton Mercer in 1980 at age 30. His role, a sweet-natured, slightly clueless parole officer, was pure candy, kind-hearted, oblivious, and hilariously overwhelmed by the chaos around him. But behind that warmth lay a man privately battling his own spiraling health. Candy's skyrocketing fame in the 80s came with crushing anxiety, emotional eating, and insomnia, worsened by guilt over time spent away from his children. He turned to food, and sometimes pills, to cope. Directors quietly complained about his tardiness and frequent health scares on set. Though never publicly disgraced, Candy's weight and unpredictable schedule were rumored to have cost him major roles, including one in Ghostbusters. His marriage was strained by his obsession with work and feelings of inadequacy. Despite earning millions, Candy invested in doomed ventures, including a failed CFL team that bled him financially. He died on March 4, 1994, aged 43, of a heart attack while filming in Mexico, leaving behind a beloved legacy and a heart that gave too much too fast. Carrie Fisher was born on October 21, 1956, and played the Mystery Woman in 1980 at age 24. Her character never spoke but left behind a trail of carnage, flamethrowers, rocket launchers, and a stare that burned through Jake's lies. It was a metaphor for Fisher's own fury at being betrayed by the system and by lovers. Raised in the shadow of fame, she began drugs at 13, and by her 20s was mixing LSD, cocaine, and pills to numb the pressures of being Hollywood royalty. Her affair with Harrison Ford, her marriage to Paul Simon, and her struggles with mental illness became tabloid fodder. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder, she spent years bouncing between rehab and psych wards, sometimes institutionalized against her will. Yet she weaponized her pain through brutal honesty, writing postcards from the edge and wishful drinking, where she exposed not just herself, but the entire industry's rot. Fisher died on December 27, 2016, age 60, from cardiac arrest caused by sleep apnea and drug use. She died a rebel, truth-teller, addict icon. Donald Dunn was born on November 24, 1941. Played himself, the band's stone-faced, pipe-smoking bassist, in 1980 at age 39. On screen, he barely spoke, yet exuded unmatched coolness. Off-screen, Dunn was a revered studio legend, shaping the sound of soul with his bass lines. But his quiet image masked years of creative clashes and industry bitterness. Stax Records' collapse hit hard, and he struggled with being undercredited on many iconic records. Dunn was deeply loyal, but friends said he harbored grudges and had a short fuse, often storming out of sessions when producers second-guessed his grooves. His long marriage weathered multiple close calls, especially during years of constant touring and substance use around him, though he largely avoided addiction himself. Despite no tabloid scandals, his life was a tireless grind of buses, amps, and smoky backrooms. He died on May 13, 2012 in Tokyo at age 70 after performing 2 shows in one night, literally playing until his final breath. Judith Belushi Pisano, born on January 1, 1951, played the cocktail waitress in 1980 at age 29. Though her role was fleeting, her real connection to the Blues Brothers ran deeper. She was married to John Belushi, the film's chaotic soul. Off-camera, Judith bore witness to the dark whirlwind of John's drug abuse, infidelity, and volatile fame. Her loyalty became martyrdom as she navigated grief, legal wrangling, and a media circus after his overdose. She spent years protecting his legacy while quietly battling the trauma of loving a man devoured by the spotlight. She later remarried, but insiders say she was never the same, obsessed with curating Belushi's image, sometimes clashing with Dan Aykroyd and studios over creative control. Judith built an estate of royalties, books, and licensing deals, yet it came at the cost of healing. She died on July 5, 2024 at age 73 from endometrial cancer, remembered less for her screen time and more for her undying, burdened devotion to a ghost she never stopped carrying. Ben Piazza was born on July 30, 1933, played the father in 1980 at age 47, a rich man unamused by Jake and Elwood's antics. On screen, he radiated quiet disdain. In real life, Piazza was far more complex. A gifted playwright and actor, he spent his career being typecast as the elegant other, often turned down for leading roles despite his talent. Part of that rejection stemmed from Hollywood's silent homophobia. Piazza lived openly with his partner Wayne Tripp, an act of defiance in a time when being out could end careers. He endured whispers, lost opportunities, and was once dropped from a film after refusing to butch up. Though respected in theater circles, his film career stalled. Off-screen, he was deeply introspective, battling a quiet rage at an industry that never let him shine. He wrote furiously, leaving behind unproduced works and intimate diaries. He died on September 7, 1991, at age 58 from AIDS-related cancer, a casualty of both a virus and an industry that never fully accepted him. Paul Reubens, born on August 27, 1952, played a quirky waiter in 1980 at age 28, an early glimpse into the eccentricity that would define his career. Reubens exploded as Pee Wee Herman, a childlike icon who delighted millions. But his world shattered in 1991 when he was arrested in a Florida adult theater, an incident that obliterated his brand overnight. Branded a deviant, shunned by studios, and relentlessly mocked, Reubens became Hollywood's cautionary tale. What few knew was his deep depression, self-imposed exile, and obsession with proving he wasn't a predator, just misunderstood. He returned slowly, re-emerging through cameos and niche projects, though some networks still avoided him. Privately, Reubens never married and lived reclusively, collecting kitsch, rarely trusting anyone. His final years were quietly heroic, battling cancer while still making people laugh. He died on July 30, 2023 at age 70 from acute hypoxic respiratory failure due to acute myelogenous leukemia and metastatic lung cancer, a brilliant misfit who paid too high a price for a single mistake. Henry Gibson was born on September 21, 1935, and played the head Nazi in The Blues Brothers in 1980 at age 45. His portrayal of the absurdly serious Illinois Nazi leader became iconic for its dry, terrifying ridiculousness. Off-screen, however, Gibson was no stranger to contradiction. Known for poetic wit on Laugh-In, he also wrestled with deep insecurities about being perpetually typecast, reportedly clashing with directors who underestimated his dramatic range. Though his image remained clean, there were whispers within the industry of a strained marriage he carefully concealed from the media. Friends described him as intensely private, sometimes paranoid, keeping detailed journals that he refused to let even close family read. He often rejected roles that touched on fascism or politics, citing emotional trauma from growing up in a rigid Catholic household. Gibson died on September 14, 2009, just a week before turning 73 from cancer. Ray Charles was born on September 23, 1930, and played Ray, the blind music store owner, in The Blues Brothers in 1980 at age 50, infusing the role with his infectious rhythm and natural charm. His character was fun-loving and street-smart, traits Charles mastered to mask a life of addiction, manipulation, and fractured families. Blind from age 7, he rose from poverty to global fame, but his heroin addiction lasted 17 years, leading to arrests and rehab stints throughout the 60s. He fathered 12 children with 10 different women, many of whom battled him in court over inheritance and support. Known for mood swings and tyrannical studio behavior, Charles once fired his entire band over a single missed cue. Though he reclaimed his legacy in later life with honors and acclaim, lawsuits over royalties and bitter disputes with ex-lovers haunted him until the end. He died on June 10, 2004 at 73 from liver failure, leaving behind a $75 million estate and one of the most chaotic personal legacies in modern music history. Aretha Franklin was born on March 25, 1942, and portrayed the soul food cafe owner in The Blues Brothers in 1980 at age 38. Her powerful rendition of Think turned the diner scene into cinematic legend. But the Queen of Soul's real life was far more tangled than her public persona. Pregnant at 12, a mother of 4 by 25, Franklin fiercely guarded her private world. Behind the velvet voice were turbulent romances, rumored alcoholism, and volatile feuds with artists like Dionne Warwick and Luther Vandross. Her relationship with record labels was often combative. At one point, she refused to record for months in protest over royalties. Her finances were chaotic, with unpaid taxes and lawsuits mounting across decades. Friends recall mood swings and diva-like demands, including once halting a concert because the air conditioning was too cold. Aretha passed away on August 16, 2018, age 76, from pancreatic cancer. Charles Napier was born on April 12, 1936, and played Tucker McElroy in The Blues Brothers in 1980 at age 44. His portrayal of the vengeful country band leader added explosive energy to the film. Yet Napier's real life echoed his on-screen fury. He struggled with rejection in Hollywood, often denied major roles due to his rugged look, which producers found too intense. He openly blamed casting directors in interviews and spiraled into depression, attempting suicide in the late 80s. His personal relationships were equally rocky, divorced twice, with one ex-wife alleging verbal abuse and controlling behavior. Though he had a steady career in B-movies and voice work, Napier never achieved the fame he felt he deserved. He turned to writing as therapy, publishing a raw memoir exposing the industry's brutal underbelly. He died on October 5, 2011 at age 75, after collapsing at home due to complications from deep vein thrombosis. Steve Cropper, born on October 21, 1941, played Steve the Colonel Cropper in 1980 at the age of 39. His character brought calm authority to the chaos of the Blues Brothers band, matching Cropper's real-life persona as a soulful, grounded, musical genius. He co-wrote timeless hits like Dock of the Bay and Soul Man. Yet behind the acclaim, Cropper's career was tainted by bitter royalty disputes with Stax Records in the late 80s, resulting in sealed settlements and long-time resentment within the label. Off-camera, insiders have described him as perfectionist to the point of suffocation, controlling sessions so tightly that several young collaborators walked away mid-project. His first marriage ended abruptly amid rumors of infidelity with a touring vocalist, and a child from a brief relationship was allegedly kept secret to avoid tabloid exposure. Despite these shadows, Cropper amassed an estimated $8 to $10 million in assets, including a Memphis estate, vintage guitars, and ongoing royalties. As of 2025, Steve Cropper is 83, still performing occasionally, though mostly withdrawn from public life. Steve Lawrence was born on July 8, 1935, and played Maurice Lyon in The Blues Brothers in 1980 at age 45. Slick, confident, and rooted in old-school charm, his character was a subtle nod to his Vegas lounge legacy. But Lawrence's golden image masked a slow, painful fade from the limelight. After the tragic death of his son in 1986 and the eventual passing of his wife Adie Gorm, Lawrence withdrew emotionally, with friends noting his increasing forgetfulness long before the Alzheimer's diagnosis became public. Though scandal rarely touched him, there were hushed reports of bitter feuds with network executives in the 70s over control of his variety specials, which he allegedly sabotaged with last-minute set changes. He owned multiple properties, including a Beverly Hills estate and extensive music rights that remain valuable. Steve Lawrence died on March 7, 2024, aged 88, from complications related to Alzheimer's disease. Dan Aykroyd was born on July 1, 1952, and played Elwood Blues in 1980 at age 28. Elwood's deadpan delivery and devotion to rhythm and blues masked a wild inner fire that mirrored Aykroyd's real life. While praised for Ghostbusters and SNL, his career faltered with flops like Nothing But Trouble, a film so derided it nearly ended his directing ambitions. Aykroyd's obsession with the paranormal blurred lines between fantasy and compulsion. He once claimed his house was haunted by 4 different spirits and often wore a ghost-detecting device. Behind closed doors, his relationships were strained. Insiders alleged long separations from his wife Donna Dixon before their quiet split in 2022. He was also once investigated for a physical altercation with a paparazzo in the early 90s, swept under the rug by studio lawyers. In 2025, Aykroyd is 72, co-running a vodka brand, appearing sporadically in low-budget comedies, and retreating further into UFO conspiracies and ghost lore. Frank Oz was born on May 25, 1944, and played the corrections officer in 1980 at age 36. His role was brief but unforgettable, marked by a robotic monotone as he returned Jake's effects, watch, ring, and broken sunglasses. Off-screen, Oz became one of Hollywood's most revered puppeteers, yet his genius often clashed with ego. Colleagues recall his controlling nature during the Muppets productions, where his perfectionism led to frequent creative blow-ups. Behind the Yoda wisdom lay a man fiercely protective of his vision, sometimes to the detriment of collaboration. His decision to leave puppeteering was laced with unspoken conflict. Insiders cite growing tensions with Disney's leadership over artistic direction. He never publicly feuded, but his subtle digs in interviews spoke volumes. Though no scandals marred his name, Oz's retreat from the spotlight revealed a man exhausted by the industry's politics. As of 2025, he is 81, living a quiet life with a net worth estimated at $80 million, still refusing to return to Star Wars. Chaka Khan was born on March 23, 1953, and played the choir's soloist in 1980 at age 27. Her voice shook the rafters, a gospel moment that lit Jake's soul and masked years of darkness behind her diva facade. Despite Grammy wins and global tours, Chaka battled a cocaine and heroin addiction so severe she once performed while high, unable to remember the show afterward. She confessed to attempting suicide during a low point in the 80s and went through multiple rehab stints. Her relationships were explosive. Her marriage to Richard Holland ended amid reports of violence and infidelity. Even her bond with her daughter was rocky. In 2004, Khan gained custody of her granddaughter after the child's father was murdered, further complicating the family dynamic. Though she rebranded as a born-again survivor, behind-the-scenes drama followed her tours for decades. In 2025, Khan is 72, sober, still performing, and worth an estimated $30 million, but carrying the weight of a turbulent, hard-won legacy. John Landis was born on August 3, 1950, and played Trooper La Fong in 1980 at age 30. Though a minor acting role, Landis's real power was behind the lens until it all came crashing down in 1982 with the Twilight Zone disaster. 3 actors, including 2 children, died in a helicopter crash caused by reckless filming decisions. Landis was tried for involuntary manslaughter, narrowly acquitted, but forever tarnished. His once blazing career dimmed, and A-listers stopped returning his calls. He clashed with studios over budgets, alienated cast members with an abrasive ego, and was once blackballed by a major network after an on-set meltdown. His relationship with Michael Jackson, once fruitful, ended bitterly after Black or White, amid creative disagreements. Though he directed Coming to America, even that success was shadowed by a plagiarism lawsuit settled out of court. As of 2025, Landis is 74, semi-retired, with a net worth near $100 million, but his name remains synonymous with one of Hollywood's darkest tragedies. Stephen Williams was born on January 7, 1949, and played Trooper Mount in 1980 at age 31. As a stone-faced state trooper, he gave chase without emotion, fitting for a man whose real-life path was anything but calm. Williams, despite his iconic roles in 21 Jump Street and The X-Files, was long haunted by racial typecasting and had to fight tooth and nail for every serious part. A barroom brawl in 1991 almost ended his career. He was arrested after allegedly breaking a man's nose during a dispute over racial slurs, though the charges were later dropped. He married twice and divorced twice, both relationships ending due to his drinking, according to court documents. Though he later sobered up, he remained largely silent on those years. A skilled boxer in his youth, he sometimes used intimidation off-camera to demand respect in an industry that offered little. In 2025, Williams is 76, living modestly in LA, doing occasional voice work and reflecting on a career shaped by grit and fury. Devereux White, born on August 6, 1965, played the young guitar thief in 1980 at age 15, stealing laughs as a streetwise kid foiled by Ray Charles. Best known later for his breakout role as Argyle in Die Hard, White's life spiraled downward after fame faded. After losing his mother young, he bounced between family members and the streets of Los Angeles. During the 1990s, he fell into addiction, cocaine, pills, and later meth, disappearing from public view entirely. Friends from acting circles recall seeing him panhandling near Sunset Boulevard in 2003 before he entered a Christian rehab center. He eventually emerged as a counselor for at-risk youth, using his story as a cautionary tale. However, a 2007 lawsuit by a former girlfriend alleging physical assault and emotional abuse cast a new shadow. Though settled quietly, it tainted his clean comeback narrative. White lives modestly in a small apartment, working with recovery groups, with little residual income. In 2025, he is 59, sober and helping others, yet forever haunted by past demons and missed fame. Who is your favorite character from the Blues Brothers? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.